Parents. Parents. Let's talk. Honestly, you lot make me sick. Because you think it is justifiable to force someone into existence and then extort rent from your own offspring. How is that justifiable? You lot are idiots. Yeah. If you are a parent and you are charging your children rent by force, you are an idiot. A lot of you are idiots. Genuinely, you lot are idiots. You genuinely believe it makes logical sense to do that just because they're adults. I don't care how old they are. You forced them into this world. Why are you trying to take money from your own offspring when you forced them into this world? Oh, they're adults. Aren't you an adult? Why are you having children that you know you can't afford just to then take rent money from them in the future? Why are you doing that? Oh my God. What is wrong with you parents? What is genuinely wrong with you? What is wrong with you? What is actually wrong with you lot? If you force someone into this world and you think that it is okay to force your offspring to pay you rent for living with you in the home that you put them in the first place, that they never chose to be in, you are an asshole. No, listen, pay attention. You are an asshole if you force someone into existence and then charge them rent for living with you in the home that you put them in. You are an absolute asshole. You are an absolute idiot. By definition, you're an idiot. The reason I'm making this rant is because I've seen comments online of dumbass parents who are calling those who take exception to parents charging their children rent entitled. Because I saw a video of a woman showing her displeasure at parents who charge their children rent, and she was saying how it's unfair and we didn't choose to be born and this and that, and she's right about that. And you got idiotic parents, mothers in particular, calling her entitled. Oh God, they are idiots. So if someone thinks that it is unfair for parents to charge their children rent, you call them entitled? No. You lot are so idiotic. You got it backwards. You parents, you lot are the entitled ones. You lot think you are entitled to your own offspring. You parents are the entitled ones. You think you are entitled to treating your children however you want. You lot are the entitled ones. You think that because you brought a child into this world, because you gave that child life, that you are entitled to their finances. You are entitled to whatever it is they have because, hey, I brought you into this world, so you owe me. That is literally entitlement. You parents are the entitled ones. Not those who think that you are idiots for charging your children rent, by force, by the way. How can you justify that? How can you justify charging your children rent. How can you justify that? Your offspring never chose to exist in the first place. How can you justify forcing your offspring to pay you rent in the home that you put them in? When you force them into this world, they never chose to exist. How can you justify that? So what if they're adults? So what? They are still your offspring that you forced into this world. What are we doing? You parents are making me lose brain cells. I swear to God. It's so stupid and idiotic when parents say, oh, they're adults, so therefore they have to pay rent. Oh, they have to pay their way. Huh? They're your offspring, not strangers that came knocking on your door asking if they could have a place to stay. They are your offspring that you selfishly forced into this world, and they never chose to be here. So that is no excuse. Saying they're adults is no excuse. Again, they are your offspring. They're not random strangers. If you force someone into this world, never extort money from them, never extort rent from them, ever. That is their home. They don't owe you anything. What kind of excuses? Oh, they're adults. They're your offspring. Whether they're little children, adult children, they are your offspring that you forced into this world. They never chose to be here. You parents are of low intelligence. Who the ones who think like this, you are of low intelligence. Are you kidding me? You lot are dumb idiots. It actually makes me sick. Not that it matters, but especially in this economy, especially with the cost of living crisis, with inflation, I feel sorry for the next generation. How could you be so selfish? How could you be so selfish to force someone into existence, especially when you know how bad the economy is, especially when you know how horrible the cost of living crisis is, and then charge them rent in this cost of living crisis? It's only going to get worse. The inflation is only going to get worse. It's going to get really bad. Yet you still want to have children. You're throwing your children, your future children, into the deep end. No consideration for your future children whatsoever. You're just going to throw them in the deep end. And then, you know what? It's going to be very difficult due to the cost of living crisis, due to the inflation. It's going to be very difficult for your future offspring to move out of your home. It's going to be very difficult. Your future offspring, regarding your future offspring, it is going to be very difficult for them to move out of your home. You did that to them. You did that to your offspring. You know how bad inflation is. You know how bad the cost of living crisis is, but you still choose to bring someone into existence. And then you wonder why they aren't able to move out of your home, which is their home too, because again, you forced them into this world. They never chose to be here. It is their home too. The minute you choose to bring someone into this world, it is now their home too. So don't ever try to bring someone into this world and then make them feel like that home that you put them in by force is in their home too. It is their home. I've made that clear in a previous video. Oh my goodness. You're throwing your offspring in the deep end, into the deep end. Housing, food, a lot of basic necessities are becoming more and more expensive. And you still think it's a good idea to have children. On top of that, you want to charge them rent. Your own offspring. Your own offspring. Jesus Christ. You parents who charge your children rent, you lot are evil as fuck. You lot are evil. There is no logical reason why you should be charging your children rent. There's no logical reason. I can understand you charging a random stranger, but your own offspring that you force into this world, no, there's no justification for that whatsoever. I don't care how old they are. You force them into this world. I don't care how old they are. Stop trying to use them being adults as an excuse. They're not strangers. They are your own flesh and blood that you selfishly brought into this world. You know what's funny? You parents who charge your children rent by force, you can't even afford your own rent. You, as a parent, you can't even afford your own rent. Why do you have children in the first place when you are struggling to pay rent? And now you have to extort money from your own children, your own offspring, because you initially couldn't pay your own rent. You still can't pay your own rent. Now you need to take money from your children in order to pay off that rent. If you're in this position as a parent where you can barely afford your own rent and you make the excuse that you are charging your children rent, your offspring rent, because you want to teach them responsibility, you are an idiot because you can barely afford your own rent and you're taking money from your own children so that you can get help with your own rent. You are running away from your own responsibility. You're showing your children that you can't take responsibility for your own rent. You're struggling. That is what you're showing your children. You're showing your children that you, as a parent, as their parent, can't even pay their own rent. They're going to look at you and they're going to think, you know what? I can't take my own parent seriously. My own parent can't even afford his or her own rent and has the audacity to try and take money from me just so that they can get help paying their own rent. If you are a parent and you can't afford your own rent, you don't deserve any money from your own offspring to help you with that rent. You don't deserve it at all because you made the stupid decision of having kids anyway, despite knowing that you couldn't afford your own rent. You couldn't afford to pay your own rent. Oh my god, man! You people piss me off, man. You parents piss me off. With ay 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 ay. You parents piss me off with this bullshit, with this dumbassery, this absolute dumbassery. I can't get over that. Oh, they're adults, so let me charge them. What? They're your fucking offspring. They are your fucking offspring. What are we doing? What kind of logic is that? They're your offspring. You forced them into this world. And your justification for charging them rent is because they're adults. You are an adult. You can't afford to pay your own rent. But you think that it's okay to charge your children rent because they're adults? You are the adult. You can't even afford your own rent, but you're taking money from your own children to help pay your rent. Make that make sense, you absolute idiot. I can't stand parents, man. Not every single parent, but a lot of parents are idiots. Holy shit, I can't be friends with many of them. Absolute idiots. And you have the audacity, again, you have the audacity to call people, myself included, people who think like me, entitled. What? Entitled? You lot are the entitled ones who think that they can just have children and then think that that your children owe you because you gave them life. Go fuck yourselves. Your children owe you nothing. You selfishly force children into existence. Your children owe you nothing. They don't owe you rent money. They don't owe you anything. What are we talking about? How do they owe you? Because you took care of them? So basically, you did the bare minimum for your children. You did what you were supposed to do. You did your job as a parent. You did your duty as a parent, which was to take care of your children. And you don't think that's entitlement? That's entitlement. Oh, I put clothes on your back. I fed you. I put a roof over your head. So you owe me. You are an absolute idiot if this is how you think. There is nothing more entitled than a parent who thinks that their children owe them just because they gave birth to them. How can you charge your own children rent for living in a place that you put them in? You absolute idiots. Yeah, I'm going to keep saying idiots because, ay, they really are. Oh my goodness. It's so intense how idiotic they are. It's not just them charging their children rent, but calling people entitled because they have the opinion, like myself, that, that charging your children rent is unfair. We are the entitled ones? The hypocrisy. The hypocrisy. Anyway, yeah, you know what? Yeah, they're projecting. If an offspring thinks, you know what, it's unfair for my parents to charge me rent, they will try to manipulate. Parents will try to manipulate you. Parents who think it's okay to charge their children rent, they'll try to manipulate you. They'll try to gaslight you by saying that, for example, they'll say you're being immature, or they'll say, oh, you're entitled, or something along those lines. Oh, you're an adult, grow up, and this and that, which is very ironic because you say that your offspring are adults, but you yourself, you are the adult as a parent, but you can't even afford to pay your own rent. So who's the immature one? Me, if I ever had children, not that I ever will, right? But if I were to ever have children, I would rather be dead. You would have to unalive me before I charge my children rent, as God is my witness, if there is one. It's true. It makes no logical sense for you as a parent to force your offspring to pay you rent for the place that they're staying in, that you put them in. What the hell? There are people that are genuinely trying to justify that bullshit. It's not about entitlement. It's about facts. I care about the facts. If you are a parent, and if you are a parent, you should take care of your children for life. And also, I'm not talking about doing literally everything for them. What I mean is this: you're supposed to be their support system for life. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I'm not saying breastfeed them until they're 30. No, I'm saying be their support system. Whether they are independent, whether your offspring are independent or not, you're supposed to be their support system. It's the least you can do, given that you decided to throw your offspring into this cost of living crisis that they never chose to be a part of. Inflation is getting worse, cost of living crisis, they're all getting worse. They're getting worse, and we're still deciding to have children. And then we complain. We wonder why our offspring can't move out. You, as a parent, complaining about your own offspring, as regarding why they're still living with you. You yourself can't even move out. You can't even afford to pay your own rent. But you're complaining about your own children still living with you at a certain age. You, as a parent, you can't afford to pay your own rent, but you're complaining about your children still living with you. What? That is so hypocritical. You move out there. Oh no, you can't, because you can't even afford to pay your own rent. And it's probably more expensive if you move out. The rent is probably going to be higher if you move to a different place. So if you can't even afford to, if you are a parent and you can't even afford to pay your own rent, don't complain about your own offspring continuing to live with you. What? Absolute nonsense. But yeah, parents do better. Do better. A lot of parents, if not most parents, you know, they have children for their own convenience, for their own financial gain. Oh, let me have children so I can make passive income by charging them rent. And let me hide behind reasons such as, oh, to teach them responsibility. Oh, because they're adults, so they should pay their own way. Talking about your own offspring like they're a bunch of strangers, like you didn't force them into this world. Are you kidding me? I could imagine, right? I could imagine myself in a situation where talking to these parents would be, you know, reasoning with these types of parents would be like talking to a brick wall. If you're a parent and you think that your children owe you because you did the bare minimum, because you did what you were supposed to do as a parent, don't ever call anyone entitled. Don't ever call anyone entitled. You look at yourself in the mirror. Look in the mirror. You are the entitled one as a parent. Nonsense. The parents are looking out for their best interests. So I think that their offspring should look out for their own best interests. They didn't choose to be here.
The bottom line is this: parents, given that you forced children into existence that they never asked to be a part of, instead of extorting rent money from your own children, from your own offspring, this is what you do instead. Don't extort rent from your offspring. Let your offspring save their money. Let them save their money whilst living with you. And when the time comes, they will have enough money to not only move out, but also to purchase their own home. This is way better than extorting rent from your own offspring, because by extorting rent from your own offspring, you are slowing them down. They can't save properly because you keep taking money from them, and then you wonder why they're still living with you. Parents, you do not have to extort rent money from your own offspring. There are literally parents out there who don't extort rent money from their own offspring, and those offspring, those children, were able to move out and purchase their own homes. If these parents can do it without extorting rent money from their own offspring, why can't you? Also, charging your children rent might make them resent you and even go no contact with you. Is it worth the risk? Thank you everyone for watching. This has been a Thought Provoker. I'm on a race to 2K subscribers. Please like, subscribe, and peace.